Hey everyone, sorry it's been a while since my last video, but I finally got the chance to piece together some video from mine and Kelly's trip last March to Mount Shasta, California. Located at the southern end of the Cascade Range in Northern California, Mount Shasta has been the most active volcano in California during the past 4,000 years according to the U.S. Geological Survey. It averages an eruption about once every 300 years, and the last one is believed to have occurred and been witnessed by a French naval officer in 1786. If this is true, then there's a good chance that I may get the chance to witness the next eruption in my lifetime, although I'll be pushing 100. Hopefully the retirement home gets cable. Anyway, our first journey was a short and quick 1.5 mile hike to Ney Springs and Ferry Falls. The springs were discovered by John Ney in 1887, and a resort was eventually built on the site. According to articles I read online, the resort seemed to be a booming place and featured a hotel with accommodations for 50 people. The Ney Springs Trail winds past what remains of the resort, a concrete foundation with pipes used to transport the nearby spring water, one of which water was still flowing through. The hike ended at Ferry Falls, a very active waterfall that was flowing so forcefully I was almost blown backward by the pressure. The next morning, we drove just under 2 hours southeast to Macarthur Burnie Falls Memorial State Park. As soon as you enter the park, you are inundated with the thunderous roar of Burnie Falls, a waterfall that provides nearly a constant flow rate of 100 million gallons every day, even during dry summer months. Just a quick hike down from the parking lot and you are standing face to face with what President Theodore Roosevelt called the eighth wonder of the world. The waterfall was absolutely amazing to watch, and Kelly and I just stood there for quite some time, letting the force of the falls push us back as we breathed in the crisp air freshened with the surrounding pine trees. We continued past the falls to the Burnie Creek Headwaters Trail, which takes you up and over the backside of the waterfall to some more beautiful scenery. The trail connects with the Pacific Crest Trail behind the waterfall. In fact, the Pacific Crest Trail runs through the Shasta Trinity National Forest, so I saw signpostings for the trail all throughout our visit to the area. Once we got back into town, we found a great local hike called Spring Hill Trail. Located at the end of a residential street, the Spring Hill Trail begins with a steep climb through dense forest, but quickly opens up to stunning views of Mount Shasta for the remainder of the climb. Later in the day, we drove down south to the town of Dunsmuir and ate dinner at the Railroad Park Resort. The bartender working that night shared with us some stories of Mount Shasta's little-known secrets, particularly dealing with the occult. Apparently, the area is home to a few cults, one of which is called the St. Germain Foundation. I don't know much about these groups other than the fact that some of them have something to do with myths and legends that tell of a secret city existing beneath Mount Shasta, inhabited by a technologically advanced society of human beings or mythical creatures. But we'll save that topic for another video. On our last full day, we drove south again past Dunsmuir to Castle Crag State Park. Upon entering the park, we were directed up a sketchy one-lane road to an upper parking lot adjacent to the trailhead, which begins with a steep and windy ascent through a dense forest. Just as soon as it seemed like the steep hike through the forest would never end, we reached a clearing that offered beautiful views of the crags above us. We kept climbing until we got to the base of the crags and stopped for lunch. Some hikers continued onward at this point and climbed up the steep rock, but we decided to play it safe and enjoy the views from down below. On our way back down, we hiked to a natural spring where we could fill up our water bottles, and then once again through what we called the never-ending forest. Our last hike was Box Canyon Trail, which begins just behind the Box Canyon Dam on Lake Siskiyou. There are a couple ways down into the canyon, the first being a steep descent near the side of the dam. A rope system is installed to aid with the descent, but Kelly and I gave up after the hike down became a little too sketchy. The second option was definitely the safer route and led us on a windy trail through the forest. We began to see large pieces of metallic debris scattered throughout the forest until we realized we were hiking through an old car graveyard. I found out later that residents of Mount Shasta used to push their old or unwanted cars down the hill in this spot to dispose of them. Trees have since grown around the debris, creating a creepy post-apocalyptic junkyard. We eventually reached an overlook that offered a beautiful view of the Sacramento River down below. The trail continued onward, but eventually we reached a dead end at a large rock, so we turned around and journeyed back through the car graveyard to exit the way we began. On our last day, we got up before sunrise and drove to the southwestern bank of Lake Siskiyou, hoping to capture a reflection of Mount Shasta on the serene water. I couldn't have asked for a better morning. The wind in the water was still, the sky was clear, and as soon as the sun peeked over the horizon, we got a glimpse of Mount Shasta towering over the peaceful lake. Well, that does it for our trip to Mount Shasta. I hope you've enjoyed this video. If we ever get the chance to visit Mount Shasta again, I would love to hike Osprey Falls, which is considered one of the most scenic waterfalls in California. Unfortunately, there is no legal or safe route to the falls, as the popular option involves trespassing on Union Pacific Railroad property, but hopefully a safer route opens up in the near future. Thanks again for watching, and until next time, never stop exploring.